I call this January 23rd, 2017 Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first thing is approval of the minutes of the December 12, 2016 regular meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move we approve the minutes of the December 12, 2016 regular meeting as submitted.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Next thing is approval of the minutes of December 15, 2016 joint meeting.
Mr. Chair. I
Yes.
move we approve the minutes of the December 15, 2016 joint meeting as submitted.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay, it's now past the hour of 7. We have a public hearing. Renaming the following streets: Whitney Avenue to Whitney Street, and a portion of Whitney Street to Berlin Road. Kathy?
Sit here so I can point to the map for
Okay.
the cable, the audience. The public hearing notices went out per town code, policy of the Board of Selectmen about renaming streets. And these two particular streets, a portion of Whitney Street and then Whitney Ave, have long caused confusion between the post office, public safety, police, fire, police and fire in particular. So several of the departments got together to look at how we could address that, again, using the board's policy about naming streets. We went ahead and advertised, invited all the abutters within 300 feet, and also the property owners in Berlin, which were beyond the 300 feet, but just to let them know that, this was happening along the town line. And so we contacted all the businesses, and what we're proposing is to, if people are familiar, and this is the map that was in your packets too, if you're familiar with, this is Forbes Road, and this portion is Whitney Street. And then at this intersection, Whitney Street goes this way, as opposed to, we think it naturally should go this way. This has always been called Whitney Ave. However, the businesses on Whitney Ave have always used a Whitney Street address. So this company, and there's now a company here, they all have Whitney Street addresses that they've given themselves. I mean, we assign the street number, but they all call themselves street over the years. So they all get their mail delivered, so there's not gonna be any confusion, with any of these properties. Nobody, the companies that are there, nobody has to get renumbered or, have a new street address. This portion, which is called Whitney Street, what we'd like to do is rename this Berlin Road. And we sort of randomly picked Berlin Road, but obviously it touches the border of Berlin. This is the town line right here. And
I voted for Parenti Way. I think that's great.
that was under consideration.
That's right.
So we did.
Sorry about that.
Speaking of historical significance, we did go through the list of historical names that years ago, I think it was back in the 60s, was probably first created by the Historic District Commission. And they're all 2 and 3 name long now. They're all named after.
Like Jacob Cobb's.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So there wasn't really anything, short and sweet, that wouldn't be confusing, over the, 911 calls and so forth over the radios. And I also went to the Northborough, part of the policy is that the Northborough Historic District Commission needs to be notified of the public hearing and weigh in on it. And I went to their meeting, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and they don't have any issue with this. I basically just, made the same presentation here. So again, what we're proposing is, right now, this is Whitney Ave, and we'd like to rename that Whitney Street. And then presently Whitney Ave which there aren't any businesses that have an address on Whitney Ave. So we notified these property owners. This is all Isometics, this property here, and they have an address down here on Whitney Street. And then the property that's right up in here is state land, and there isn't any structure on it. And won't be. It's all, part of the MWRA.
Cal, just, so basically, if I'm looking at this, if I'm reading this correctly, so right now, it goes from Whitney Street to Whitney Ave to Whitney Road in Berlin.
Yes, it does say
Yeah.
Whitney Road.
So at least we would take it, it would just be going Whitney Street to Whitney Road.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
it's like,
Simpler all around for
Yeah.
everybody involved.
yeah, by 1 degree.
It was the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Back then,
Yeah.
it was really the best way to go.
Yeah.
You know, I never knew it was Whitney Ave. I
didn't
mean, and
either.
I've lived here my whole life. I've always thought it was Whitney Street, so.
Well, in Google Map says it has it reversed. So if you go by Google Maps,
did you know it was-
where Whitney Ave is
didn't either.
it's called Whitney Street. So
So-
we have to notify, I mean,
Is that a sign?
depending on your vote tonight, the GIS department will notify, Google Maps, and there's a whole series of media that we need to,
Identify.
yeah, so that everyone will get that name changed.
Excellent. Do we have any questions from the board or concerns? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move the board vote to approve the following street name changes as shown on the plan presented by the town planner. Whitney Avenue to be renamed Whitney Street, beginning at the left fork of Whitney Street to be renamed Berlin Road.
Second?
Hear a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Very nice presentation.
Thank you, Catherine.
That was very simple.
Okay.
That's pretty.
Next on the agenda is reports. Jason?
Is that next on the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, thank you.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot,
No,
Jason.
I just anticipated must be other business on the agenda before we get there. So on, I believe it was Thursday, December 15th, many of the boards, committees, and some members of departments were in attendance at the presentation of the annual financial trend monitoring system at the library, which is probably the most comprehensive explanation of everything that affects our budget that you're going to see. We do it annually. It's very in-depth on a number of different topics relating to the budget. I did want to ask, I know it was videotaped, but I don't think I've seen it in rotation, so I'm wondering if it's still in post-production, or
Terry Crean says yes.
Terry
Yes.
Crean says yes.
Well, we try to clean it up and feed the slides directly in. The idea is unfortunately, a lot of, depending on the nature of how meetings get covered, sometimes you can't always see the slides or hear the audio well. Typically, our local access will, if you've seen any of the previous ones that we've done, they really do a nice job of editing it and making it a little bit more streamlined, but certainly they bring the slides directly into the video, so you get a perfect view of what you folks see in the meeting, not,
It's not a
a
picture
video
of
of a washed out screen print. So
I see, okay.
sometimes it takes them a little bit to do that. So I can certainly check on where that is.
Okay, I'd just be curious to know.
Trust me, once it's done, we'll run it incessantly.
Well, all right.
Every time you turn on, it'll be on. So,
We're,
you know what we do? We do put it into heavy rotation leading up to town meeting. And believe it or not, we get more comments on that meeting and presentation than we do on pretty much anything else.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to check on that. It certainly is the most comprehensive bit of information that somebody can look at, so that's great. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jason. Leslie?
Okay. If I'm recalling correctly, there was an accident recently on Church Street, and a pole came down over the road. If it's the pole that I'm thinking of, and I didn't go up there, it's near Colby Street?
Yes.
Okay. A friend of mine lives on Colby and has told me that there have been accidents there that have involved that pole. I don't know if there's been a discussion ever about that pole and moving the pole, because people have, she and somebody else have commented on that. I don't know if that's ever been an issue. I don't know if it's real close to the road.
Mentioned it
Okay,
first, I can check and see how many accidents we've actually had there,
okay,
if it's the same pole.
yeah. I don't know if it was very close to the road and there was an issue with it.
We just have to go through the process of moving poles.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question because I know it's come up in conversation, so.
Keeps people out of the swamp.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
I said it keeps people out of the swamp.
This one's further back.
Okay,
Is that the pole on the outside of the curve? There's a slight curve in the road?
Heading north.
Yeah. All right, yeah, I think that portion of the roadway is normally crowned, so it's sloped like a normal road.
yes,
And it's on the outside of a relatively shallow curve.
yes,
So it's a tough spot when it gets slippery.
yes. Okay, that's,
That's
okay,
the
the same one I'm
street.
thinking of, yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to raise that as an issue, and if anyone wanted to look into that, I'm just curious. If anything can even be done about it, I don't know, but. Also, a question, do we know whether or not the lights downtown have been synchronized a little bit better by the state? Have they come in?
Yes.
Because I did notice a little bit of a change. It seemed to be smoother, as if, if you hit a green, it stayed green all the way through.
Yeah.
There weren't, those weird changes in between.
Selectman Rand had mentioned that a while back. We looked into it. Turned
Yeah.
out that some of the switches were not working properly, and we
Oh.
were able to get Mass DOT to come in and fix it. So, yeah, it should be running a lot smoother now.
Okay, so that has occurred.
That has occurred, yeah.
Okay.
They're scheduled to come back as well.
Oh, they are?
To check the timing again, yeah. Some of the loop detectors were damaged. You might have saw them cutting small rectangles in the pavement
Yes.
at the South Street intersection.
Mm-hmm.
They repaired the loop detectors, and they're gonna work on the timing again in the next month or so.
Okay. Have we gotten other complaints from people in town, do you know, or have you heard anything more since they've come
Seems like
in?
it's running a little bit more smoothly.
It seems
since
a little
I've been
better.
Yeah.
The last few weeks, yeah.
It's been quiet in DPW.
Yeah, okay. Excellent, and I wanted to thank you, Scott, you and your staff for your, the plowing so far,
Thank you.
and the plowing that will be done. Maybe not tonight, but great job. Like you said earlier, it's always at night and middle of the night and that kind of thing. I feel bad for the staff, but
We're,
do a great job.
We're about halfway through the season, and we have about half the snow we had last year. Last year we had just over 40 inches. This year we're at 20, so we're right on pace.
Now we're in trouble.
Now we're in trouble,
Yeah, you do it.
please.
Snow gods are watching.
Yeah.
Foot and a half tonight.
Yeah.
They do a great job, though,
Thank you.
the things they've done so far to date. Thank you very much. And also, I'm very happy about the lights that are at Northborough Crossing. I think they help a lot. I think people are relieved to be able to pull out of BJ's, for example, and know that they get to sit at a light. And I'd much rather sit at a light for 2 minutes and know that I'm not going to be, putting my life in danger by going out into that intersection. So I think that's a huge improvement, huge. So that ends my report.
Thank you, Leslie. Jeff?
Just one item, just wanted to thank the fire department and the police department. A couple weekends ago, there was a fire in town, house fire. I know it was a pretty catastrophic fire, and, when I was up there, just the response was amazing, not only from Northborough, but also from the surrounding towns. I think there was Westboro, Shrewsbury, just all the different towns around, and it really, just the level of support that not only from our own departments, but from, the other folks, I think was something. So just thank you to both of you and your teams. That's my report.
Thank you, Jeff. Don?
And I'd like to also speak about the fire, because actually I've heard only positive things about the police and the fire department, particularly you, Chief. The family was very impressed. They were having troubles getting the insurance agent out there, and you took over on the phone. And I just thought that was such a wonderful thing to hear. When you're in a time of stress like that, and you're trying to handle things, and it happened to be a holiday, so the insurance company didn't want to deal with it. And
They actually told them you'll have to call back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I explained to them that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
We won.
You did, and the family is very grateful, and I did hear very, very nice things, and about your men carrying out some of the books. All the dance pictures were saved, which was great for the family. So anyway, but they were very, very thrilled that they would think to just grab some stuff on the way out. So just all positive feedback, so thank you. close my report. Oh, doesn't. Billy and I had time tonight to meet before with the interview, as the interview committee, and we met with somebody that wants to serve on the cultural council. And she's already been to meetings, so she seems like a great candidate. So I would move the board vote to appoint Bic Nan Nguyen to the Cultural Council for a 3-year term to expire on January 31st, 2020.
Second.
There a motion and a second? Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That's your report?
That's my report.
Okay, thank you. I have no report. John?
No report?
No report. Moving right along. Public comments. Hearing none. New business. Approval of appointments to the Fire Station Feasibility Study Committee. John?
Sure. As you know, we are begun the process of looking at our fire station and trying to decide whether or not we are going to renovate and update in current location or possibly look at another site. So we're creating a fire station feasibility study committee, and under the charter, that's my appointment, subject to your approval. So this evening, for your consideration, I'm proposing the committee consists of myself, Fire Chief David Parente, firefighter Jamie Desitel, who's also a Northborough resident, Selectman Dawn Rand, representing the board, Richard Smith, representing financial planning, and then on appropriations, I'd be looking at either Elaine Kelly or her designee. This is very similar. One of the things that I've started, at least since I've been the town administrator, is when I create building committees or study committees, we want to make sure we have good cross-representation of all the boards and committees in addition to some citizen representation. So that's no different on this project, and we're very actually excited to get going. Our first order of business will be creation of a request for proposals to hire an architectural firm to come in and do the feasibility study for us. I don't anticipate, or rather I do anticipate us starting to meet probably around the March, April timeframe, with the bulk of the work being done over the summer months and into the fall, with the goal of coming back to town meeting with some recommendations in terms of the next steps. So it's great. This is our next project. I know it seems fast. We're closing out Lincoln Street, but this project has actually been in the capital improvement plan for the last 6 years, and it actually been approved and appropriated for the feasibility. And you know, with the new chief here and everybody settled in, now's the time to get going.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the board vote to approve the town administrator's appointments to the Fire Station Feasibility Study Committee as presented.
Second.
There a motion and a second? Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. Next thing under new business, update of FY 2017 state aid. John?
Well, FY17 state aid is secure. What I want to talk about this evening is, well, you know, in fiscal 17, the state still has at least a $98 million shortfall in the current fiscal year. So we were very concerned about what that means for our upcoming fiscal 18 potential state aid. So this weekend, the Mass Municipal Association held their annual conference. Governor Charlie Baker was the primary speaker at the annual meeting. And of course, after he was done talking, he kind of cracked a joke like, well, I suppose you guys want to know what I'm going to do with local aid now, huh? And so, of course, the room was very interested in what he had to say. So at the meeting, he made some announcements about what he's anticipating rolling out. The governor's budget is the first glimpse that we get as local officials in terms of what state aid might look like. The governor's budget is due to be released this Wednesday, the 25th. So typically at the meeting, at the annual conference, he gives some sense of what we can expect. So at the meeting, he announced that our unrestricted general government aid portion is going to go up about 3.9%. And the Chapter 70 school aid statewide is going to go up 2%. Now, the press always picks up on these numbers and they report them. And you have all been around long enough to know that our state aid is not going to go up 4%. That's not how it works. So I did send you an email following the meeting, but I just to go through these numbers very briefly. State aid comes in two big pieces. One is Chapter 70. That's about 3.8 million of it. By the way, it's about 5.1 million in total that we get in state aid. The lion's share is in Chapter 70, and then a little over $1 million in what's called unrestricted general government aid. And those of you that have been around long enough, you know what that is. Yeah, it's our lottery money. So during the recession, the state stopped calling it lottery, and they called it unrestricted general government aid, so it wasn't so glaringly obvious that they were stealing money from the municipalities. The lottery was enacted by the legislature and by the voters specifically to benefit municipalities. All the money from the lottery is supposed to be divvied up through a formula to municipalities. And every time a recession hits, the state digs into that. So they got cute a few years back, and they stopped calling it lottery. So when we talk about 3.9% increase in the UGGA, the unrestricted general government assistance, that's our lottery money. That should be coming to us unrestricted anyway. State aid's not going at 3.9%. That increase on that portion is worth about, what did I say here? About $41,000. So it's not big bucks. As far as the 2% increase on the Chapter 70 school aid, that's what they're saying. School aid across the state is going to increase, but as you well know, it's formula driven, and the more well off your district is, the less money that they're going to get. I do not anticipate getting a 2% increase in our Chapter 70 funds. So here's the long and short of it. In terms of our budget for fiscal 18, our budget model anticipated a 1% increase in state aid, which is about $51,000. Based on what we know, and we don't have the details yet from the governor, if we get 3.9% increase in the UGGA and an increase per student of $20, which is what he's saying for Chapter 70, we might see something more in the order of $77. So those of you that are quick with math, we budgeted a 1% increase. We don't have the details yet, but we might get a 1.5% increase, which is about $26,000 more. On a $60 million budget, this is not a material amount of money, and it certainly isn't anything that we need to change our current model to reflect. Particularly given the fact that we don't have the details, we don't know what the House is going to do, we don't know what the Senate's going to do, and the conference committee that ultimately decides, this is all months off. We won't know our final state aid probably till sometime in July. The good news in what I read into this is the state is having trouble hitting their revenue marks for fiscal 17, which means they had to scale back things for fiscal 18. We basically assume we're going to see a 1% increase. It looks like we're going to see something in that neighborhood. So our budget model, as presented back at the meeting Jason referred to on December 15th, we do our financial trend monitoring. We also do our 5-year projections. But our projections for 18, they look to be good. I just don't want, and I know what happens, this plays out. People say, I read in the newspaper you're going to get a 3.9% increase in your state aid. You're not. I mean, if all goes according to plan, we might see, $77,000, $78,000 more on a $5.1 million state aid account. Again, we're glad to see it's moving in the right direction. It could have just as easily come in 0.5% less than we had planned. So in that respect, it's good news. But this isn't going to be some, big saving grace that we've got a whole lot of extra state aid. Pretty much is playing out exactly as we forecasted. And so it's not bad news. It's not overwhelmingly great news. It's pretty much the news that we expected. So our plans are holding steady. I gave you the details in an email, and I also gave you the article from the Mass Municipal Association. So, it was, again, at least we have some confirmation that we're not going to see a reduction at this point. So,
Excellent, thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
From
that you
anybody?
have. Okay.
All right, thank you, John. All right. Next thing on the new business, execution of cemetery deeds 1012, 1013, 1014, and 1015.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move the board vote to execute cemetery deeds 1012, 1013, 1014, and 1015.
Second?
Here, a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any other business come before the board? Hearing none. Next thing on the new business executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection 3, litigation and collective bargaining. Due to the chair's determination, a discussion regarding this matter in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the position of the board.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move the board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection 3, collective bargaining and litigation. Due to the chair's determination that a discussion regarding this matter in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the position of the board.
Second.
A motion and a second. Jason?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. We're only got about an executive session to adjourn from open session. Thank you very much.